to have someone with the right key.
We're on our way to St. Paul's house. Forbidden territory. St. Paul's Cave, I should say. I think we're looking down on the double church of Ephesus, of Theotokos. Opening up the gate. We're under a fig tree.
Mehmet Limon, our guide, works in the museum in Ephesus. Let's get everybody here. He works in the museum in Ephesus, and also he works with Laodicea excavations, which we've just seen.
Thank you very much.
And the money comes from the textile industry, he's saying, for Laodicea. And he is a restaurateur here in the Ephesus Museum for all the artifacts that come to the museum, as we stand under this fig tree with figs on it. We continue this way.
I need to make just one little comment here. She's not going to like this, but I do need to say the reason why we are here began with Tess. Tess is the one who kind of said, you know, there's this cave in Ephesus, Cave of St. Paul. I wonder if... and that wonderment led to all that you did.
It was many years ago. I remember from one of my group members saying, when you point like that to someone, he says, be careful, you're pointing 2 fingers to that side and 3 fingers to you.
That's right.
So this lady
Well, I'm thrilled that we're doing it.
Indeed.
It's a lovely picture.
Now we get a even better view of what's below. The hanging materials marks for those who might otherwise get lost.
What are we seeing on this end? Is this...
Look at all the fragments of pottery that we're walking over. This hill would be very fruitful for excavation. Uh-oh. It's sticky.
Is this asparagus? Looks, yeah. Looks like asparagus. I've never seen one get like that. That's gorgeous. Well, I don't know that it is, but...
Here we are.
The leaves.
That's a rim, just a rim.
This is narrow. Taşı köyde resmi.
There you go.
Yes, please tell everyone no flash.
No flash.
No flash.
This one's
That's
that one moves.
Ah.
And Paul. Side by side. This is why we're here, to see them together. Come to the end of this as far as they'll go. Look down, everyone. Be careful, little steps at a time.
Baby steps.
Everybody could get away from the door towards this back wall would be helpful.
Just little steps. This is where we are.
No flash. That's locked.
This is the gate. This is the end of the road.
Paul.
Welcome to
There they are
Hawaiian.
together.
I think we should have mass here.
Maybe next year.
Here.
It would be nice if people at the back would not.
Could everybody come in and out of the light of the door? The door is our only source of light.
There we go.
Turn off the flash, please. Everyone. Once again, Thekla, Paul, and somebody else.
Another one?
You can see the red, yes, the red color is visible, and the black is visible. They're in full format. Yeah, clear the door so we have more light inside.
If everybody stayed to the.
Yes, stay on one wall, that way you can see it.
Here we have, what do we have?
Well, so I don't know who this one is.
We'll find out.
Thekla, Paul, and
Paul.
the next person. Now this place was dug out, everyone, about 8 years ago. This is when they started, the Austrians started doing this. And I got special permission to clear and take pictures while we're inside. You can do that. And that's the height, the roof.
Now we have more frescoes back.
And there's on this side, hard to understand frescoes here as well.
Yeah.
Some in the back wall.
Yes, there's more here, unidentified figures. But the one to the right side of the entrance was pretty visible, I think. And that's what you get in that movie. If you buy the
Yeah.
DVD,
Yes.
you will have it all in there. Okay? I think it would
Here's
be
the back wall
appropriate,
from left to
everyone, if
right.
we tipped everyone 5 lira in Turkish liras,
Oh.
this gentleman
At least.
who's made this wonderful trip for us and got all the clearance from the military, because this is military gendarme zone. Because people come up here and do illegal diggings. This is why you have to clear that, and you have to clear the museum side, the legal authorities, as well as the military authorities. And he came here
Which ones are on the
2 days
No, I
ago,
don't.
and he put these handkerchiefs as the shortest route to get here.
It's
He
hard
marked the
to
road up for us.
I really wonder if that isn't a...
I don't know how to thank him.
Project.
All my local
And
sources here.
then
when we
two
come
on the
out,
either
but
side.
Let's do
And I'm wondering if this
One
might be
more.
the Oasis
Yes.
with the Virgin Mary. I don't know.
What are your reactions? May I record them, please?
Amazing.
It's unbelievable.
Tess, what do you think?
Oh, I'm just so grateful to you, Aydın, that you did this. I can't believe it. It's just, just
Father
amazing.
Tom's with the lights? Father Tom?
Well, for me, this is probably one of the goals of our pilgrimage, to be touching something from the very, don't touch it though, but to be touching something from the very early days of our faith. And a remnant of, maybe Paul was here. Maybe this was his prison.
No, the prison is up on
No?
that other hill.
Okay,
This is where they say he may have
maybe he may have
resided.
resided here.
And worked along with Thekla.
Well, what I notice, that there are so many traces of pottery and marble on the path coming up that I'm sure that the city was extending up here. This wasn't way out in the country. So the city would have been up here too.
You stepped over a column.
Yes.
Do you remember the wall piece I showed you on this site? That's where the boundaries of the city was. And we must go, because there's lots more to do, okay? And it'll take us to go down. This is going to take longer than I thought going down, okay? Now timing-wise, so please, let's get down to the main road and do the rest of our tour. Thank you for all making it up.
Use my lights.
I just want to see. I can't get pictures. I don't have any good film.
Yeah. He said that was Nicholas, Paul, and Christ, and this might be that.
Hard telling.
She's always stood is right. I've been there for years.
Yeah, maybe so. Kind of looks like that.
You should wait till everybody comes around. You should wait till everybody comes around.
Well, Ann has a light too, so.
Well, they haven't been able
I'm not going to show anything.
to, we've been stuck back here.
Okay, come on around.
That's wonderful.
Looks like some kind of decoration. Now, would this be a Christ?
I can't. I don't know. There's no halo.
Although there's no halo on Paul and Thecla either.
What do you think on Christ then?
Well, it may be that he's framed with that doorway. That might be the early doorway of heaven too.
Yeah. Oh,
We better
no, here's
go.
one.
We better go.
Oh, okay, so they're spotted.
It's been 2 hours, 15
Well, they
minutes.
can do
We
it.
have to be
Yeah,
on
they
get it like
schedule,
that.
so let's
You can
keep
just, like,
going, please.
Just touch.
Literally stops.
The key actually had to come through Austria to
We're going
to see
down,
this.
everyone.
down. We are looking towards the harbor. All the fields that you see down there are basically on the silt. The harbor itself was where the buildings begin.
Take your film
And then
of the theater from a distance. They're restoring it, so
And
we're
then
not
the-
able to go inside.
the theater, which we can't go inside because of restoration work.
Crane is there. That's where
So those are the harbor
at
bath.
the end of this harbor road, which
And then the-
is down below. That came to the big theater from the harbor.
With the pods.
Yeah.
This is, I'm in goosebump time. This is Quercus orientalis,
That's redbud.
right? And in Southern California, we have Quercus occidentalis.
Oh,
But the subspecies here would be probably Turkey. In Southern California, when the buds finally opened and you had all this flowering, the shamans and the priests would go up into the Fort Tejon area, up in Canada, where you find these, because you don't find this in the base, and bring these back. They were used by the girls in their puberty procession. They would carry just branches of these into the puberty circle. The beans, the little pods, because this is in the Fabaceae family, the bean family. The pods are all edible. This part, the very thin, twiggy part, will be split open and used in very fine decoration and basket work.
oh,
It's very rare in our area because this all had to be brought in. So this is a trade item, which also lets you know about that extensive work that went on between areas. And it's just amazing to see it here.
and the name of it again is?
Well, it has several names. Okay, in Tongva, this is Kwahosha Ahin, which means red blood.
May I just say something?
Yes.
Let's do this on the bus later because of our time. And I would love to film while Frank is explaining all this. And you keep that, please, with you.
Yes, I will.
All right, with you, so
Sure.
you can show that and we can talk. So we'll have to show you.
No.
Here.
Thank you.
All standing up.
Oh, yes.
Or even seated. There were moments. Still, I know. Even for me, there were moments. I have gone beyond the forbidden territory. First time in 40 years.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you. Yay.
Thank you. Mehmet abi gel.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's all shake his hand. Thank you very much. Allah razı olsun inşallah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Just keep your hands, okay? Bunları da sana topladı. Çok teşekkür ederim.
Yemek yiyip güreşiyorum. Hepiniz.
You'll have a nice beer and some lunch. And think of this moment.
Where are we going with this?
Beraber mi gidiyoruz?
Benim ben de geleceğim.
All right. Come on, guys.
All right, we're going down this way. Hoşça kalın.
The family is Fabaceae.
Without flat.
The genus is Quercus.
Quercus.
The species, because we're in the Middle East, is probably Orientalis.
Quercus orientalis.
Now we've got its cousin, or its brother, or its sister in Southern California, Quercus occidentalis, Western.
Yeah.
Common English name, Western redbud. So this would probably be, if they were speaking English here, would be Eastern redbud. Okay. The Tongva name is Quahosha Ahin, which means red blood. When it's first setting out its little buds all along the stem here, they look like little drops of blood. So that's why. We've got miles of smile.
Okay.
Roger, can you hear me? Remember back there was the latrines. Then we went into the terrace houses. But when you look behind Janet, you can see some cross marks. Crosses on the marble slab. That is a basic burial site for Kodros, the guy who enrolled this Kodros. They're buried in there. The founders of the city.
Marks there.
And where it's green shingles, can you see that?
Yes.
Behind it is where Arsenio Ford is buried. She was the stepsister of Cleopatra. When she died here at the age of 20, she was buried along the roadside. That's why in 41 BC, both Cleopatra and Antony were here for the funeral ceremony. Excuse me. You could not be buried on a main street like this if you were not royalty. That was the rule. Because remember, where people were buried was out of town in a separate location, not downtown. And that's the reason why Celsus Ptolemaios, who was the builder of this library behind me, was the governor of this town around 105, 107. When his father died, wanted to bury him there. But he couldn't. They wouldn't allow him to do it because he was not royalty. So he buried him secretly and built a library on top of it. And we figured the library underneath is where the burial is. Between 1970 and 78, when they rebuilt this library, only the steps were there when I first came here in 67. So then the library was put on it until 1978 by the Turks and the Austrians who have been digging this place up all this time. That's why the key was with the Austrian guy in Vienna for the St. Paul's Cave. There are 4 statues which we will see next, standing at the library entrance. From left to right, it will be wisdom, knowledge, thought, virtue, 4 attributes represented in every Ephesian woman to have. And the original statues are in Vienna in the museum. The ones here are replicas. And behind is the library. So we will go that way next, please. And one thing I need to show you on this side over here next, before we do that. I know it's nice to sit down, but we'll have to get up. Time to suffer. This is like 4 years old with restoration. They have put this up. No problem. It's coming
Hadrian's
along,
Gate.
little by little. There's always scripture around, as you see, at the bottom of these bases. But there's more scripture on the sides, in front, next to where Arsenio IV is buried. They are like the laws of this town, like billboards we have in our times for advertising. They would do that on the side walls to tell the people visiting this town what the laws would be like. Remember, it's a Roman law applicable today. Not knowing the law of the land, is that an excuse? Right. If I come to Claremont, that is the US law I am under. You are here under Turkish law. The same thing existed with the Romans, so they were trying to tell the people coming here that they should know the land and they should know the laws of the land. So since the Romans, it's the same Roman law we are using today. You're seeing the statues now. I will take you to the best angle to see it, but this building around the corner is the red light district of Ephesus.
Here we are.
Hey, this is the best angle to see all
Look
four
closer. Where I
statues.
stand is your best angle for the 4 women statues. If you look that way, you can see the sidewalk. This is the street right here.
This is a sidewalk,
There's a sidewalk on both
and
sides.
this is a street.
On the marble street, especially in the section that is
It's
closed.
closed now for
Further up,
restoration. You
about
see the crane in the back.
50 yards away on the left, there's a footprint about size 7.5. The right, the left foot. I'm sorry. And then there is a heart, and there's a lady figure next to it, which doesn't mean at all like she left her heart in San Francisco. But rather, if you keep going on the sidewalk on your left will come the Love House. It's one of the earliest advertising anywhere on earth. That house. I'm a pilgrim, don't let me say that. So let's go this way. The opening and the chiseled marble. There is a secret tunnel underneath here. And the tunnel goes from the library behind that archway into that Roman bath we went into for the rich. Okay? And so it goes through here all the way underneath the Love House, the next being the latrines, the next being Hadrian's monument, temple, the next being the Scholastic Baths. It was unethical for Ephesian men to be seen going to a love house. So they would go to the library and come out from the Roman bath. And I have no idea what happened in between. This way. In 40 years, I've never walked through this agora, which was closed because of the main road back there. Okay. Now we will go through the major agora, but this is the Hellenistic agora. That was the Roman agora from the 1st century BC. This is 3rd century BC, and you are reading in Latin from left to right. At the bottom line, Caesarus Augusti Mattheus, Caesarus Augusti Mithridates Patronis. So those two guys were the patrons. And they were slaves under Caesar's Augusti. and they worked hard. They were given their freedom to show their appreciation. In the years 3 and 4 BC, they built this monumental archway going into the Agora, the Hellenistic Agora. And now I'm going to take you up on the steps of the library. I'm going to take you inside and show you a few things. So we'll have to keep going. July and August, Ephesus. Now we think we're warm. Wow. Can you see the double walling on both sides? That's how libraries were built in ancient times for insulation purposes, to keep the humidity away. And up to where you see the brickwork was the first story. Then was the second story with shelves and scrolls. And that's, it could be papyrus or it could be parchment, either way. But they had some 12,000 pieces of parchments found in the days of the 2nd century AD, when Celsus Ptolemaios built it. We know this is not the main library of Ephesus because it's built as a cover-up. Because where the father is buried is behind those two holes. There's a sarcophagus down below, hard to see. That's where it is. So he buried him there and built the rest of it looking like a library. Because in a city like 250,000 people, finding a library with 12,000 scrolls is nothing. Because in the major library of Pergamon, which we will visit tomorrow when we go to that section, they had 200,000 scrolls. And the city only had 150,000 people living. So yet we have to find the real library of Ephesus on that account. And this side tells you 1970-78 restoration work and who was in charge of Julius Celsus Ptolemaios, the bibliothèque, meaning the library. But your best angle to get a close-up on the ceiling coffers is this way here, if you will come please.
Everything's no window. That's a heck of a deal. Through the entrance, huh? So the doors would be...
In the center, look up, take that, that's beautiful everyone. Okay? Don't go back too far, looking up like that. Now we're heading down.
Over there.
Everybody here. May I show you something else here? You look here on the left. These are, as this is an agora, the market rules under which negotiation was to take place. And it's also telling us at the top that it was built, like I said, in the 3 and 4 BC by those two guys, and yet it was knocked out with a major fire at the time of Nero, the emperor who burned Rome. So basically, in the 13th century it was knocked out with an earthquake, and this has all been restored, as we see all the market rules all around us. But beautiful design is here underneath your feet. Notice that as well.
Anything remarkable about the rules of bargaining that you can... different from today?
No, nothing. I ask you to be at the back, please.
Okay. Here's the agora. With the Greek agora, that is. Roger, measure the stage.
Yes, absolutely.
The sewage channel down below in front. Semicircular. Different than the Odeon, which was covered. This was out in the open. And this is how the rainwater could get away. And at the time, it was a Greek theater. They used this for 1,000 years. From the 3rd century BC to the 7th century AD. The seats came down to the level of the orchestra, and then they raised it up at the time of the Romans, raising the stage as well. Bless you. And you can see the royalty box with the school to the left. And if you look in the very front, where the steps are on the left, look, there's an opening. There's another opening on this side where we came up with the ramp. Down below there's another opening, like the one in the front, where the lines came from. For what you've seen in that movie, Gladiator. And this was all happening here at the time of the 1st, 2nd, 3rd centuries. This is the place for 24,000 seated, 1,000 standing in the back. And basically, this is the silversmith's riot theater in the Bible. Demetrius was the guy who was afraid that his business would go out of line in case they would not allow the idols to be made, which they were selling to the tourists visiting the town in those days. So when this idea was mentioned by Paul, that he stood up and said, "Great is Artemis of Ephesus." And the chanting went on for 2 hours till the town clerk came along and calmed them down, said that Paul was taken to the prison on top of the hill to the right, that in a week's time he was let go out of Ephesus. As a Roman passport holder from his dad, he was not to be imprisoned. He was kept there for safety, so he let go as a result, where he was martyred in Rome in 64 AD. So this is where it all happened. This is a very important place. I'm so glad we could get in. And this is where I listened to John Baez many years ago. How's that?
All right.
We'll have to go. I'm sorry, it looks
Yeah,
great.
and perhaps on the bus I'll read the section from Acts,
yes,
and maybe talk a little bit more about that.
we'll have to keep moving this way now. Three, 4, 7, 8, 10, 12, 14. We need 4 more. Yes, yes. That included.
There's Jonathan Roger and Roger and Ann. No, Roger and
Frank.
Frank.
There's Frank.
That's 4. Father, Son, Savior.
Right there.
There's the fish.
Ixus. Upside down.
That's what it is. Showing. This is another Roman bath here in the front, used by those who would come in for the big theater. If you look to the left, you're seeing some of the newly
discovered sarcophagi with the
which if you look from
Roman
our
baths in the
right
back.
hand, and those to the right and left are harbor baths. That's
harbor
where the
baths.
quarantine was before they were allowed to go into the city.
The harbor road
Now
on the
I'm going
left.
to lead you.
Okay, the prison is the
From
top of the
there.
rock.
Much better.
There, you see?
Look
That's
to the
Paul's prison.
Look where it's rocky, okay? By my guess,
There is Paul's
from where
prison.
the earlier remains of the wall is, it's outside the city, not inside.
Okay, there's
Way
the cave of
outside.
St. Paul.
Because the city is where those yellow flowers are. That's where the wall is, all along. Oh, it's about 100 meters or 75 meters below that level.
So
Let's try
the cave
our
of
luck
Paul
with
is
the
about 100 meters,
Church of
75 meters
Theotokos,
above
please.
the walls.
This way, please.
Outside.
More stuff.
Now we're heading on towards the Double Church of the Theotokos. Can you see all these guys paragliding? Okay, here's the view from the baths, harbor baths, over to the Church of the Theotokos. Okay, there's the harbor again. And now we're coming upon the Church of the Theotokos. Good view of the harbor baths from here.
Hey, are we coming back this way?
Okay, this is the West Church. We're entering through it. And this is the East Church. Yeah, 67.
Significance to it?
Just a second. This would be the apse of the second church. There's a portion of a mosaic here, I think. And looking towards the east here. Okay, here we...
Take the signboard.
So you see both the octagonal shape of the room and the rather large baptismal pool here. Now the person would go down one set of stairs, probably the west, signifying the sunset, you know, where they're coming from, the land of darkness, to the east, and would be baptized in the middle. Whether the deacon or deaconess would be in the water or above, probably in the water. Because...
Oh, Paul would be in the water.
Yeah, so would I. So would I. And because they were baptized naked, they would be in the separate room. without a video feed into the rest of the church. But see the 8 sides, again representing the day after earthly perfection, the entry into the way of eternal life. From here, this would be the cave of St. Paul. Okay, so here we are leaving.
When I did this program, Father Tom
Yes.
knows this.
Yes. Well, you know, we're about...
The yellow is, and on top of it is St. Paul's cave.
St. Paul's cave, somewhere there.
This is where little private
Back to
planes
the-
land.
Orange, cherry rose, so.
Good. And
What are they again?
Anybody need a shopping cart?
Yeah, that's that.
this one,
This is great after lunch. To sweeten up.
yes. The apple tea is this one, if you like. You can find the small one and the bigger one also. And if you don't like sugar, we have natural apple tea. You can put this in the hot water and you waiting 3 minutes and then you can drink. And olive oils, those extra virgin olive oils. You can use this one for everything. Salad, cook, and if you want, you can use this also for skin massage. Yes.
What's his name? This is where the name comes. First built in the 1st century BC, restored in the first half of the 1st century AD.
It's this over here.
These are all,
Big stick.
well, it's part of their war, weapons of...
These statues were from the Trajan spot, where it had the globe under his feet.
When they're bare-legged, are leaned up against the tree.
As you can see. And the lovely Eros mosaic, Roman period. And the lovely Eros here on this side. And then with the rabbit. And then there was one lovely mosaic like this in that house we visited. The houses for the rich. It had Poseidon's trident, if you will remember, and the nymph he was following, this one please. This is again a restored portion of what we saw inside with the polio fountain which we just saw. Father Tom, where is this Abgar thing you were talking about?
Okay, these are the Abgar tablets.
We'll come back to this so you can look at them in more detail. Let me finish this. The story of Abgar in this corner.
He's a king of
which I showed you, on which you have the castle coming into Selçuk. And I said underneath it is where St. John's burial site is. That is in fact the first Ephesus. And that is the Mycenaean period, 14 to 1300. Terracotta, beautiful works. And they were, of course, using different methods of burying people, the Mycenaean way. It's giving you all the dates, how they buried people. At the time of Ephesus, they were using this Greek style, the kind of their temples. And some were buried in urns, even like that. And there were different times and different sarcophagi were used. Or this is more like the Selçuk style, which we saw in Konya, okay? More like this Selçuk style, as you see here. And of course, all these things that were found in Selçuk. This is what they needed, of course, for the second time they would come back. It'd be fully, I explained to you, okay? That is how the entrance looks like. And the beautiful, lovely 300 BC to 380 glassworks. Quite a few of these are like tear vessels, as we call them, because they would collect the tears shed during the procession, during the time when they were burying people. And they even had mourning people, which were actually paid for. And they cried for money. And they collected all the teardrops in these glasses and buried them with people. All of these were found in the tombs. Remember Mother Goddess Kabele right here? And the Hittite Kubaba is like this, in different forms, all right? All this is Kubaba, by the way. Kabele in the Phrygian time. And remember, it was Artemis here, which we will see next. So it's kind of preparing us to Artemis. And then it was Virgin Mary. This is why she was widely accepted around here, which I will do as well. But this is the tomb that I told you were found in that area where they had the flowers. Remember from the little Odeon when we came out, I said the two fantastic statues of Artemis were excavated here. So those are the ones that you can take pictures without blood. And this is their temple of Artemis, the largest building in ancient times with 127 columns. And that, I don't know if you've seen the Parthenon in Athens. Anyone? Quite a few. So this is 4 times the size of the Parthenon, to give you an idea. You can put 4 Parthenons inside. That's why it was the biggest. This way next, please. Chop, chop. This way, please. Thank you. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Hadrian's temple, the lovely frieze. This is some of those scenes which I told you about the foundation of the city. And this is my big one. This is Domitian. Remember, 81 to 96 AD, he was ruling while God was telling us. And this is the head and the arm of that statue which was 21 feet tall. And that is over the Domitian temple, which will be restored later on. Right? So imagine this is the size of the head if they were to find. I will meet you on the bus at 10 to 3. So that gives us 25 minutes. 2:25 to 50.
Was Emperor Augustus and Livia.
What'd you get?
I'm sorry.
Emperor Commodus. Emperor priest of the 1st century. Emperor Balbinus, 238 AD. Bust of Julia Paula. This is a lead pipe with stone sleeves and under an altar. And here's a small Artemis who lost her head. Not quite as large as the other one. But look at the details. Now here in this case, with the Temple of Artemis in the background, are silver figures from the Temple of Artemis, none of which seem to be statues of Artemis. And here's a gold figure, little one. Here's a frieze with a meander design with birds and fishes and flowers in it. Are not labeled. They look like panels, maybe from sarcophagi or from houses or from whatever. Sarcophagus here. A lion here and a stone jar-shaped thing, globe here. A well-worn sarcophagus here. Figure on top. Here's a sundial. Of these kids who are around.
Çıkar senden ya. Ne? Ya bak işte bunu geçiyor. Aa 50'yi ben atıyorum şu an. Bir tane var. Evet. Geçiyor.
There's a column with a, looks like an ox's head. It's part of the Capitol. And down here we have some mosaics in not very good shape. And other marble fragments. Looks like a philosopher there. Okay. Embo with the sacrifice of Isaac, and we're back in the Aphrodite and Eros. And here's another fragment from a sarcophagus. Another one of Aphrodite and Eros. Eros and Psyche. The boy on the dolphin is behind a grated door lock, but the grate provides some stability for the camera's telephoto, so I guess this is getting a pretty good picture. Eros on the dolphin. More statuettes of Eros. Here's his wings and head. Here's statues at the fountain of Lacanius Spasus. Socrates' room in the room 7 of the fourth dwelling of the terrace houses. Apparently this is Socrates. No, that's Socrates. Mosaic and the patrician having a nice snack. Here are various household items. Perhaps here are some silver. Don't really see Artemis though. And another picture of him. really is. We come out from the museum and now there's two storks up there. One flew away.
Bill, Vicky, thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, hang on to the hats. This is the crossroads of religions. Why? Because of the remains of the Temple of Artemis, with one column intact, restored naturally, and several pieces have been put together. It's not like what I showed you in Saint Sophia. Those green columns were intact. Remember, single piece from here. How did they ship them? On rafts, tied, pulled by ships. Imagine that. From here to Constantinople is 326 nautical miles. All of that on rafts, pulled by ships. And that is how they were recycled. But the temple was there when Alexander was born in 356. This madman by the name of Herostratus, who wanted to make history, burnt it down. We have people like that in our time. You know, they just do things so their name goes on the record, especially with the FBI. So then Herostratus burnt it down in 356 BC. And the story in Greek mythology is such that Artemis had gone to deliver Alexander the Great, so could not say when it was burned down. So it happened on the same night, in fact, right? There's a date to it, but it's 356 BC. And later on, when Alexander came here, after 334 BC, when he conquered Asia Minor, he comes to Ephesus. And hears the story and wants to make the donation to the temple. So they would call it the Temple of Alexander the Great, rather than Artemis. But the local people don't like that story. They don't want to give up their temple to a conqueror. But they cannot quite put it that way, but they are very diplomatic about it when they will say it's not appropriate for a god to make the donation to a temple belonging to another goddess, elevating him to that level. So you are more than welcome to donate the money. We will spend it somewhere else and make a temple for you. But this then will be your name. So this is why he said he accepted it, let the story go by. So this was still called the Temple of Artemis. The Temple of Artemis was destroyed by the Goths in 262 AD. So all those columns you saw in Saint Sophia were lying about here when Justinian had them shipped to Constantinople to be recycled. And so this is the crossroads of religions because of the Church of John, which we're about to enter, because of the Temple of Artemis, the mosque, 2 dome, half a minaret, 1375. So this is pagan, Christian, crossroads. Let's look at this topographical map next week. The Aegean Sea at the very far end, behind the half a minaret. And that's with the rock formation.
Remember when?
It's right here. This is where we are. This site is Ephesus number 1. Remember, Mycenaean period. 13 to 1400 BC was the dating of it. So that's Ephesus 1. And then, right here is the Temple of Artemis, which is down below, which is Ephesus 2. Around the temple was Ephesus 2. Ephesus 3 is between that hill and the next hill, where we were this morning, okay? And you can see the harbor at the bottom. And you can see the different levels of the water in Archaic period, Hellenistic period, Roman period, and where it is today. And the river Kaistros bringing the alluvial remains to the whole territory. Ephesus 4 and 5 are down here, and it's related with the Seljuk period. So all around here is Ephesus 4 and 5. This is the road to Aydın, this is the road to Izmir, and the railway tracks, which were built at the time when they discovered Ephesus, if you remember that. We'll take pictures on it showing you a restored diagram of this church. But this is the name, Isidoro, or Isidorus, as some people call it. And his name is engraved, the architect who built Saint Sophia, with Anthemius of Tralles as the mathematician. The two of them worked on that project, and he also built this one about the same time, at the time when Justinian was ruling. And of course, the outside is where you have the atrium, and then here you have kind of the exonarthex, a very small inlet, huge pillars carrying the dome, and a series of domes towards what we saw in St. Irenaeus in Istanbul. The same way is the direction we will walk up to. And there will be a building to the far left. The Germans are the Luftwaffe. And that is where the treasures of this complex is kept, the money. And the baptistry will be to the left, which I will show you. But let us now walk to the end and have a look at the Whispering Gallery.
Question. Was there a gallery also up around there? Do those columns indicate that there was a gallery like at St. Sophia?
Like in St. Sophia.
Yeah.
Like in St. Sophia. And we have monograms over here, which I'd like you to have a look at. On the columns, those are monograms of Theodora and Justinian. This way.
The columns and monograms of Theodora and Justinian. There we go. I think on the capitals. If we're going down the nave, this would have been the ambo as we're looking towards the apse.
And that's the Whispering Gallery style, which I told you about when we were in St. Irenaeus. And again, the Byzantine castle in the front used by the Ottomans. I hope someday they will restore it, make it tidy inside so it can be used for a purpose. Maybe have a magnificent restaurant inside of some kind. I'm sure it would work out, you know, because it's a magnificent location.
And gallery. Behind the Synthronon. This is from behind the Synthronon, from the so-called Whispering Gallery.
Look at this way, Nick.
This is the treasury, and it looks like there's some frescoes back there. That's pretty hard to see because of you're seeing me.
Treasury Department, as it says in Greek, if you can read that word in Greek. It's the Treasury. And there is a fresco which is covered with that glass front. And it will have the Last Judgment scene. Virgin Mary, Jesus Christ, John on the right-hand side. Right? John the Baptist. It's hard to see. We've seen far superior frescoes in the Church of Cora, if you will remember that. But you can barely visibly see that. And then, to look at that, please have an idea, and then I will take you to the baptistry next. Which is this way. Closer, please.
This would be the 8-sided baptistry.
A much smaller scale baptistry compared with the one we saw in the double church today. Like the double church one, a smaller one, with some new marble slabs which you're seeing in the back. And even some older marble is visible from the 6th century AD, and the special Byzantine brick and rock formation combination used throughout the baptistry is interesting. And if you remember my movie, my DVD I showed you on the bus, group of St. John's pilgrims were going through here, just showing you, like putting water on them, was how it was shown in that DVD.
Any volunteers to?
Not today, not today, please. So, my ladies and gentlemen, this is 3:27. Let's be on the bus in 12 minutes.
Here is the model.
Whoa, that's nice. Huh? That is photocopy. Photos.
Esta maqueta puede dar una idea de nuestro museo. ¿Qué quiere? La misma dirección con los restos de la basílica. La actividad principal está en esta parte. La cámara de tesoros, la habitación pequeña para el guardia. También, ¿cómo se...
And here we are overlooking the somewhat semi-reconstruction of the basilica from where the model is, including the square or the atrium in front. This is the atrium from the south side. And you can see something of the valley looking down across. And the new Ephesus, or I should say third Ephesus, behind the hill there. And then on the other side of the hill is also the Virgin Mary's house. Well, here's our stork's nest again. And there is a stork in it. See our stork. Okay, here's a slightly different angle. Oh, he went down. Come on, there you go. Aqueduct. Remains of the 2nd century aqueduct.
A small version will be available outside the church and one inside. A German nun. This is not a vessel at the top of the hill to the left. We will have this view as we come out. And look at all the area that was burnt. All this was burnt, everyone, on your left. They've taken away all the woods, chopped them down, unfortunately. And all you can see that's empty here has been burnt. And I remember it went on for 36 hours, and I was here the whole time doing a tour in the summer. And the fire started at the same time in Turkey in 24 exact locations at the same time. And it was done by the PKK guerrillas, because some of them were captured later on, when this was burnt down. They want to destroy the tourism of the country as well as the country.
And they've already started replanting it.
And they're replanting. This reforestation, what Tom was talking about, is very important in Turkey. They will do it, but it'll take ages before they come up to the level on the right. You can see certain portions have burnt down on your right, and new ones coming out. The newly planted ones you can see on the right as well as on the left as we go along. So when they came here in 1891, they found, as the story goes, in the church Mass was going on. And everything she had described in her vision was exactly as she had described it. So the world found out about this house where Mary had lived at the end of the 19th century, and it became a place for pilgrimage. Look to the view on the right, please, and the castle at the top. And it is being highly revered to by a lot of nations, as well as the Turks. Look to the right, that's the Aegean Sea now. It's a bit hazy. There is tremendous serenity, especially around the House of Virgin Mary. This hillside is beautiful. I will show you all these sections as we go to the area where we have Mass. And I will show you where I will wait for you at 5:30, because that again falls into the time of my prayer. So I will do mine while you're doing yours, and that will be at 5 o'clock. So when you're finished looking around, taking pictures, drinking the holy water, I'll be doing mine at that time. And all this was burnt down on the left. It was devastating, it was shocking. And people cannot be human beings who can do something like this. And at 2 in the morning, the tourism minister was here, and I was watching the television live the whole night to see what was happening. Because you wouldn't be able to come up here. We were down below in the hotel where we were watching it all. And he said about 1:30 a.m., it's a miracle. The fire just changed direction. Some 12 feet away from the House of Virgin Mary's. This is all the wood on the side still remaining here. And that is the Aegean Sea once again to the right. You see, this side is where it stops and it didn't come, devastating the area on the left. We're about 425 meters above the sea level here. 18 kaç para istiyor?
18.
Hadi bir de rica edeyim kessin o biletler. And if you want to get a little cup of tea here on the right, you can. There's a post office here on the left-hand side. A little closer, please. Thank you. We're on time. I appreciate your contribution. This area has been widely discussed amongst the archaeologists, whether if this is a submersion type of a baptistry or if it's part of the old cisterns used for that purpose at one time is anyone's guess at this point. But that is where we will have the Mass, and you can see the beautiful olive trees all over the place. And the fire stopped over there. You can see the color change. Closer to the house, which you are beginning to see in the front to the right. And that's the ramp we will go to get to the house. And this red line goes around the house like that, under which is 1st century AD, and what's above is 6th century AD. And then underneath the house, you are seeing that wall, which is covered with white ribbons, which I said the girls would tie the knots. And to the right of that wall is where the holy water is. This is the best view in town for the facilities, which you can use. Ladies will be on the left, guys will be on the right. And back there is the cafe where I will see you at 5:30. So we should start at 4, so let's go get our place, please.
Description of the shrine in many, many different languages.
As always, okay? So people who are late makes this thing difficult. So let's go in.
And no pictures at all inside.
No pictures inside. So this is the chapel, and to the right is her residence. In between the house and the residence, there's one step. When you go down, please be careful, watch your step. And as soon as you go to the residence on the right, on the wall you will see a mural of Virgin Mary, whereas on the left you will see all those things from the Quran about Virgin Mary's chapter that I told you about. And then you will come out this doorway, and then we'll see when they're finishing so we can go in, okay? This way, please.
You see the red line that he was referring to as being the 6th century. The rest 1951 reconstruction.
Hadi gidelim.
Öyle dedi, şuraya kadar yandı dedi işte. Belli o kırmızının üstüne
Sister is describing the...
Anyway, by the tank out there, all of a sudden the wind turned and it went the other direction. It is, I mean, it sounds...
Describing the fire last year.
Sometimes some of the priests are saying, we shouldn't say it's miraculous. But one priest said it is miraculous. I think this is. It is. All, if you see how it was the house, the priest's house, everywhere was almost touching here. Even in fact, inside the little hole of that little tree, so, something fell in. The fireman said afterwards, something fell in the tree. They watered that down. He said it's amazing that this tarp roof of Mary's house didn't catch on fire. With all there was things flying all over the place, you know, during the fire. So it was
Sister,
incredible. They were flying, you know. They were watering down all night long. It was the front of our house, in front of our convent. At 2 o'clock in the morning, it started up again. I mean, it really was horrendous.
Yes. Sister, would you give us the name again of the Turkish priest who is being ordained tomorrow?
I think it's Father Mesut Kalaj.
Father Mesut Kalaj.
I'm trying to say his name.
Okay, good. Thank you. And he was the first Turkish priest, native Turkish priest in this diocese.
For a long time.
For many years.
Yes, thanks be to God.
And he will have his first Mass here on
tomorrow morning.
At 10:30. Oh, he's being ordained today.
Tonight at 5.
Tonight at 5. Okay.
His first Mass here.
While we are having a Mass, he will be ordained, so we have to remember him in our prayers.
Beautiful,
yes,
huh?
thank you.
At the same time.
Thank you.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Sister Claire we gave her a little holy card. Oh yeah, she was hoping for another one. All right. Mary's prayer. Yeah. Okay, I'll send her one. I'll give you a group some. Yeah, thank you. All right.
And I have a very bad memory. Could you give us your name again, sister?
I'm Sister Antonia.
Sister Antonia. Yes. Okay. Now we will remember because it's on tape.
And what is your order?
It's called Sisters Minor of Mary Immaculate. Yeah, we're on the East Coast in Connecticut and New Jersey in the United States.
Okay.
Maybe have a photo of my friend.
Very good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sister, I had the pleasure of meeting you. I was here last year.
Oh, I'm glad.
So it's nice to meet you again.
We're glad to have you.
Do you wear blue habits?
No, we wear blue in for Mary. We have the spirit of St. Maximin and St. Teresa with the flower. So we're Franciscan, but we also have the scapular. It's like a hybrid. Yeah.
The little flower grafted onto St. Francis. Yeah. All right.
Also with our mother foundress.
Yes.
She's still alive.
Wonderful.
Next year we'll be celebrating our 25th anniversary.
Oh, wonderful. Where were you founded?
In Rome.
In Rome.
Yeah, 1983.
But you have a good number of American sisters.
Yes. We're the
good.
tops.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
We're about 30 out of all.
Wonderful.
1/3 American.
Okay.
Sister Antonia will have to go in and use the place.
Yes, that's right. And you forgive me.
Come on. Let's go.
Okay.
She's upset.
A lady from Bolivia painted the altar cloth.
Yeah.
Marvelous. It's beautiful.
Se stanno filmando.
Okay. Well, thank you.
God bless.
Okay. And right. So, Sister Saranya and Sister
Antonia.
Antonia and Saranya. Okay.
You can see how close there's that burn tree right there. It was really
Yes. Oh my goodness.
everywhere.
Here's a tree that was a portion of it burned. Well, yeah, came right up to.
See, it's all growing back now.
Yes.
Where that stone was used to
Yes.
be covered with ivy, but it all burned off.
Oh my goodness. The
Yeah.
ivy burned off the stone right next, and the roof of the house is flammable. Yes.
Incredible.
Here's where we celebrated Mass, and you see how close the fire came. And here is the house. Here is the spring, the water.
I'm a collector of holy water.
And here's the prayer petitions. It looks like the fire did not touch the olive trees, but the hillside right behind, you can see up there, is all burned. Here we see the prayer wall, and above it is the house, and then the outdoor area for Mass. Here's another view, a last view of the cistern. Here, where the fire came down, the house would be to our left. And of course, this view is from the best view in the house. Yep, from the men's room. There's a fox. That was as we're leaving Mary's house. Hide and see to the left. Oh yes, way over there.
Visible is Greece. That's the direction for Patmos as we head down.
Here from the front of the bus, see the Aegean off in the distance.
Where we've done our fires, they usually start at that.
We don't do that for some strange reason. Too much bureaucracy.
I think I will announce it now for Bill, so he will know. It's not like a shock.
Okay.
But,
it's fine with me. I 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. It would be fun to surprise him, but I think that may be better to announce.
He's had a lot of hay fever, so
yeah, I think you're right.
Look to the left, gorgeous view of the town of Selçuk. And the Ayasuluk Hill is like an aerial view. Öyle gelince gazlarsın değil mi abi? İnşallah. And now we'll make it to the town of Selçuk, and then we'll be on that expressway. But because we are finished early, Father Tom and I, with your permission, want to take Bill to the airport.
Good idea.
And see him off.
Yeah.
Let him cry
That's great.
all his heart out because he's leaving us behind. How's that?
Yes. Cool.
He's had all this hay fever fighting through and all this tonsillitis problems. He'll get to the airport a little early at least, but I know he's safely there. And he can have a drink waiting for the flight. Is that all right with you, Bill?
That's fine. Maybe I can catch an earlier flight, so that would be great.
All right. Okay. Yes, you can try an earlier flight. That's the gymnasium to the right. The entrance to Ephesus.
Aşağıda durmayacağız değil mi baba?
I know. Very important. Arkamdaki teyze diyor ki, iyi ki diyor, güzel bir otobüs ve iyi diyor, kullanan birisi var diyor. Bu köşeleri dönmek kolay değil diyor.
Sağ olsun. Biz durmayacağız değil mi baba?
Yok abi, yok.
Sen de deseydin baba. Maharet şoförde değil. Otobüs sürekli gelip gittiği için yolu biliyor. Müzik.
Öyle biraz sonra abi, öyle bir otobüs bulsana bana abi kendiliğinden gidip gel. Başına bir de kendiliğinden konuşan rehber konusu abi.
Oo, ne alem memleket. Onların yaptığı iş.
People just coming into Ephesus on the left. Closes around 6 o'clock, the admission. So this is probably one of the last groups going through.
Salonda salak olmazın karşısına bir.
Where John is buried.
Bıktım artık bunları birer yazmaktan, anlıyor musun?
Evet.
Böyle koyuyorum, atıyorum, sonra gidiyor abi.
Ben şu kartları da vereyim mi sana?
By reflected light.
Alacağız abi yarın.
Signals for an
Yazacak kağıda.
Evet.
Atacağız.